All right, so we're at Dix Creek Gap. I think mile marker 69 maybe.
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
And we met a family a couple days ago on the trail, and I wanted to introduce y'all to them. This is
I'm Ben.
Ben.
I'm Cammie.
I'm 7.
This
Seven.
is Rainier.
Rainier's how old?
He's 2.
2 years. Okay.
Say hi? No.
No.
Leah, can you say your name?
All right.
I'm Memory.
I'm Dove. I'm Eden.
So what motivated you to get out on the AT?
Well, my wife and I talked about doing it 15 years ago when we had a 1-year-old and she was pregnant with our second. And the dream kind of never went away, but we started to feel like maybe it wasn't going to happen. And then finally, we were like, we got to do this before our oldest daughter turns 18.
Cool.
So it's just a great way for us to spend time together and do something difficult. And anything else you want to add?
So what was your starting date?
We started March 1st.
March 1st, and you're hoping to get to Katahdin in September?
We hope to do it by the beginning of August if we can, but we're gonna, if not, then yeah, it might be the end of August.
We're thinking 5 months.
And you have a YouTube channel right now?
We do have a YouTube channel. Yep, our YouTube channel is called Fight for Together. And it's an Instagram page. And we're trying to encourage families to do things together. I mean, it's kind of funny that like there's all these people out here hiking. And it seems like a lot of them have kids, but we're trying to show people that it's possible to do it with your kids. So that's what our YouTube channel is about.
So what's been your biggest challenge? Is it gear or food-wise or something else?
I think the biggest challenge is keeping Rainier, our 2-year-old, keeping him warm right now. And we didn't like, we planned okay, I think, in terms of gear, but emotionally and stuff, that's the biggest challenge because he's right in that pack over there.
Yeah.
So he's not moving around keeping warm. So we
Right.
have to dress him for 10 or 20 degrees warmer
Colder.
than we're dressing.
Right, right.
So he's layered up and waterproofed and stuff like that.
So what's your plan today?
We're gonna catch a ride to town and eat some good food and sleep in a hotel for 2 nights and swim in a pool.
That sounds like the Holiday Inn.
It is.
That's where I was last night.
Oh yeah?
Oh, really?
How was it?
Yeah, it was good. All right, well, thank you for your interview.
Yeah,
and,
thank you. We hope to
good
see you
luck.
further on down the trail.
Thank you. Well, we're walking down the trail toward the North Carolina border, and it's not particularly cold out, but obviously it's cold enough for water to freeze. And I don't want to step on any ice, so carefully cross this. And look at this little ice formation. Isn't that lovely? Here, have an ice pop. Tasty. Well, we've been running up and down ridge lines all morning, several hundred feet in elevation. Beautiful day with a breeze. I just stopped to replenish my water down there. I am 2 miles away from my destination, which is the North Carolina border, and there should be another campsite or so with a water supply, maybe another mile beyond that. So it is 3 o'clock, time to keep trucking. Isn't this neat? Imagine what this is going to look like when all the rhododendrons start to bloom. Well, it is Getting close to 4:15, and I'm really close to the border. The trail's leveled out. I hope I've crested my last hill because it's been up and down one hill after another, doing switchbacks, a lot of climbs, you know, typical AT stuff. So when I get up to the sign, I'm going to check some weather forecasts and distance to the next campsite and make a decision. So let's keep on moving. It is 4:15, and guess where we are? I'm in North Carolina, but there's another gentleman here. He's in Georgia. What's your name?
My name's, my trail name's Ulysses.
Ulysses. And you're from New Hampshire?
I am from New Hampshire, Sanborn, New Hampshire.
What date did you start?
On the 25th of February.
And you're going all the way?
All the way to Katahdin.
All right. Well, we're heading up to the same campsite tonight, so we'll have some stories to tell.
Sure will.
All right.
Now that we're in North Carolina.
All right. So I'm at my campsite tonight in North Carolina. Crossed over the border from Georgia at 4:30 this afternoon. Have my tent site set up just a few hundred yards past the border, and I wanted to tell you how my day started. I was at the Holiday Inn, and I got up in the morning and I was doing laundry, and there was some paracord and a hiker box, and I wanted to use this lighter, and when I went to use it, it was empty to burn the ends of the paracord. So I had to run over to the dollar store and buy a new lighter. And when I was done, I started to hitchhike out of town, and I got a ride from a gentleman who picked me up. And the goal, I told him about the top of Georgia Hostel being full and having to come down into Hiawassee. And we got to the fork of the road, and he thought I guess he was going wrong, and he turned around. Instead of going left up the mountain to Dix Creek Gap, he went right and took me back to Unicoi, where I had been 2 days earlier. And he drops me off, and he picks up another hitchhiker, and he leaves and goes back down the road. So I immediately started, thumb a ride again. And eventually a guy came around, and he picked me up, and he took me down the road. And at the fork, we made a right, and we went up to Dix Gap. And so I was able to get back on the AT late morning, probably around 11:30. And then it was up and down mountains, not tall mountains, but it was a lot of up and downs, 200-300, maybe some 500-foot climbs, a lot of walking along ridges. One time you'd be on the windy side of the ridge, other times you'd be on the calm side. But it was a good hike. And we're at our campsite tonight, down off the ridge, because it's a little windy. Temperatures are around 40, so I'm guessing it'll probably get down close to freezing tonight. I'm going to take my water bottles inside my tent so they don't freeze, but I'm beside a creek, and I do have fresh water available. So, thanks for following along today. See you on down the trail. Well, good morning. It is day 8, and we're back on the trail. Last night, calm winds, had a pretty good rest. But first thing out of the gate, had some really steep climbs so far. Probably in the neighborhood of 400 feet. And for some reason, the original Trailblazers liked to take the trail from the bottom of a gap right up over the top instead of skirting along the sides. So it made some really slow going. For me, it was about every 100 steps up those hillsides I'd have to stop and take a break, catch your breath, wait for 10 seconds or whatever, and then start again. So today we're hoping to make 10 miles to the shelter. I'm calling for rain to move in tonight. And if it's going to be really bad in the way of a forecast, we've got the option of staying in a shelter and staying dry. I got plenty of food to weigh today. As you can see, we're going back down this hillside. I gotta watch my steps. All that training I did certainly has paid off in dividends. Some of the bloggers, as you may know, have talked about rolling out their muscles, and I brought my own homemade roller made out of foam and a dowel rod. And I only used that the first couple days on the trail, and I haven't used it since. And that's not to say that calf muscles don't get sore. They do a little bit, but I haven't had any cramping issues. I've had no blisters. I haven't used any ibuprofen, but it's in the med kit, you know, just in case it's needed. So thanks for following along with me this morning. Glad that the sun finally popped out. So we'll catch you on down the trail in a little bit. All right, well, around 11 o'clock today, it started to rain a little bit. And right now we have some interesting stuff to get down. It's a little switchback. If you don't walk like walking rocks, you're not comfortable with walking rocks, this is not the place to be. Alright, so I see out ahead of me 100 yards, 150 yards, another hiker. Passed one hiker already this morning. I can just smell the tobacco smoke on them. But it's just a light drizzle right now, and if that's all it does today, I will be real happy. It can rain all night. And that would suit me just fine, unless I'm forced to be out in my tent. And if we still have 2 days of rain forecast, that could be a bit messy. It was difficult for me to get my breakfast hot this morning, getting my water to boil. It was perhaps 32 degrees out, and the fuel canister was pretty chilly. It just wouldn't give me a good hot burn. Not much I can do about that. Except I do have a hack that I brought along where you add a piece of copper along the side, and as the burn starts, the copper conducts heat from the flame down to the canister and warms it up. So I may try that the next cold night, see if that improves the burn. The other problem you have is with breezes blowing the heat away, and I don't have any kind of shield for that right now, so it is what it is. And the ground is muddy. It's a little bit like permafrost. You can still see icicles at different places. When I come to a seep, I typically am not filtering my water since it's coming right out of the mountain. I know it is pure and free of contaminants in this kind of environment because there's no industrial pollution. So here we are. I'll show you a few of the mountains around me right now. Maybe you can see that hiker up ahead. So we've been walking across ridges and ridge lines today. Keep on trucking. It is 1:30. I've arrived at Standing Indian Shelter. First one's here, but I can hear some other people. Sounds like they're coming up the trail. It looks like the fog is starting to roll in. The shelter doesn't have a table. Looks like somebody burned the legs off of it. Wasn't put together all that well anyway, apparently. And my guess is the shelter's going to be pretty full tonight. Privy's down there. And a fire ring. So it's been a good day's hike. Probably about 10 miles. And I want to tell you something. If you're looking at the Guthooks app and GPSing it, it shows that this place doesn't have a water source. That's not quite true, because if you go down that way, there is a stream running down in the valley, and I just hiked 4 liters of water up here. So there is water. You don't have to carry it like I just did. So that's it for now. Talk to you later. Well, good morning. It's now daylight savings time. Got on the trail this morning at about 9 o'clock. It took me 55 minutes to get up to Standing Indian Mountain, which I'm on the top of right now. It's been raining lightly during my hike, and the umbrella makes that a little nicer. Really not much in the way of views out there. I'm in an area that experienced a forest fire some years ago, so a lot of the bottoms of the trees are blackened and charred. Trail is a little muddy. I haven't really received the amount of rain that was projected yet. We're going to do a short hike today because the next shelters are about 7 and 15 miles apart. So what we're going to do is do the 7.5 roughly miles to the next shelter and hunker down there. It's 4 miles downhill off of this mountain. It's a relatively easy day of hiking. And here's a view of just the clouds down in the valley. Pretty cool. So we'll see you on down the trail. Isn't it nice that Mother Nature provides all the drinking water I could possibly want? And in a pretty location too. So as you know, it was a short day today. I have stopped at the Carter Gap shelter around 1:20 at an elevation of 4528. And last night I was up at Standing Indian shelter, partway up Standing Indian Mountain, so had a 55-minute climb to come up the mountain, and then it was mostly downhill from there. Tomorrow they're calling for, I guess, the rain that didn't make it here today. But I want to go from mile 93.3, climb up to the Albert Mountain Fire Tower, where there won't be any views, obviously. But I will hit the 100-mile mark, and then hopefully come down here to the Long Branch Shelter at mile marker 102. And we're on our way to Franklin. Good morning, everyone. Well, it rained quite a bit last night. Made for some interesting cleanup in the morning. Got out of the campsite around 9. Just after some snow had started, but it didn't last long. It's like a squall. Heading up to Albert Mountain to the fire tower today. Weather appears to be clearing up, so it should be a good day. So let's walk on down the trail. Still climbing, and I want you to see where we're heading. Interesting. That was a pretty good climb. Are we having fun yet?
Huh?
Are we having fun yet?
Yeah, I'm having fun. These are good trails. I like these ups. I just hope it doesn't last all day.
Nah, it's gonna flatten out soon. It is 12:30 and we reached the summit. This is what the view might look like, but this is what the view is. There's a bunch of us up here at the tower, and here is the famous 100-mile mark. And there should be another 100-mile mark about a half a mile from here made out of sticks, so we're going to go find it. Well, we're leaving the tower, heading down across the mountain about another 2 miles to our shelter. It certainly is a winter wonderland up here. We got a lot more snow than we did back at the shelter. It's supposed to be a cold one tonight, down in the teens. Hopefully my sleeping quilt didn't get too damp last night. Well, this is the 100-mile mark down from the tower. Who would have thought? It's 1:45 and at mile marker 102, the Long Branch Shelter, 2-story Should hold a lot of people. Last night's camp, I think we had 6 in the shelter and about 14 out in their tents. So tonight should be much better. That's our shelter down there. Slight change of plans. It's too early in the afternoon to quit hiking. So we're now only a few miles from the gap where we can get a shuttle ride into Franklin tomorrow. So we'll probably take a Zero there tomorrow. Make some phone calls and see where I'm going to be staying. Alright, well, we're at Rock Gap Shelter and interviewing a couple of folks that have been hiking with me today and the past couple of days. We have Buttercup and
Flying Dutchman.
the Flying Dutchman is from
Holland.
Holland, that's right. And so what's been your favorite climb so far?
The last couple days have been wonderful.
Yeah.
The first 8 days stunk.
It's all downhill, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the last climb up to, what was it?
Up to the tower.
Up to the tower was cool.
Yeah, up to the tower. It was very nice.
That was good.
Some of us had views and some of us did not have views.
I had a view.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
All right, well, we're going into Franklin tomorrow and have some pizza and beer and whatever else.
You guys are. I'm passing on to NOC.
You're going straight through? Okay,
Get some more days under the belt.
good, good. All right, so we're doing another trail interview. We met the second night on the trail at what, Rock Shelter?
Hawk Shelter.
Hawk. And do you have a trail name yet?
I'm Spamtown Rick.
Sam Town.
Spamtown.
Spam Town.
I'm from Austin, Minnesota, which is, that's where Hormel flagship plant is at, and they put out a lot of spam in Austin, Minnesota.
Well, some of us are eating spam on this. And it's good stuff. So has there been a favorite day so far?
You know, the most challenging day was the first day at Springer Mountain, and that was probably the best day so far because my equipment handled all the wind and the rain and the cold, and making it. I'm not much more confident now, anyway.
And tomorrow we're into Franklin.
And tomorrow we're into Franklin. Oh my God, well-needed shower and some good food. And give me a greasy burger. I'll take it.
There you go. All right, well, see you in Franklin.
See you in Franklin.